Good. Hi, everyone. My name is Milica, and I apologize. Unfortunately, Paula, actually, Voxel 5051 was, they're familiar with me. I'm unfortunately sometimes late. I was late on my last talk with them. So, thank you for having me. I think that my presentation is going to be a little bit different than what you heard so far. I'm going to be talking about business of AI and how do we quantify value and drive strategic advantage. But before I get started, I want to make sure that, it's been an hour and a half. We didn't take any breaks. So can you like give me an emoji and say hi or whatever in chat just so that I see that we're still there. But I do see that you were kind of like giving me a little bit of support. Everything is good. It's cool. We see the entire browser, not just the slides and so on. Yeah, if you can give me a hi. I'm located in Chicago, so I did see a couple of people in Chicago. If you're in Chicago, hello, please. I would definitely love to connect. So afterwards, let's stay connected. Awesome. Thank you all. Yes, perfect. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the agenda, what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. This is the topic of this webinar is women in AI. And I would love to, first of all, give you a little bit of intro about myself and who I am as a woman in AI. Then I'm going to be talking a little bit about enterprise AI landscape beyond consumer scale. I gave this talk or a similar talk in February. There were some updates or April, never mind. There were some updates since then. If you were in person in Chicago, maybe you heard some of this before. It was a little bit rushed, so maybe you'll get the slower version. Then we'll talk about ideation framework. How do we talk about AI problems? How do we frame business problems and find AI solutions? And then business value of AI. I think that we're going to spend most of the time there. And then finally, ML performance versus business KPIs and why that's important. I'm mainly going to be focusing on enterprise AI versus consumer AI. So I'm not going to be talking about specific products as much. I'm going to kind of like talking about business value and business of AI overall. Cool. Okay, so a little bit about me. I have degrees in math and statistics. I'm an educator. I worked in educational publishing for years before I decided that I don't want to just do math and educational publishing, but I want to do probably a little bit of more engineering. Then I was a medical informatics engineer for sometimes in a startup that was working on predicting health of animals using hardware. I, however, thought that my soft skills are not being utilized enough, and I really wanted to be kind of like in a more customer exposure, sales exposure, talking about product and not just building something. And so I went into this blend role between consulting and engineering. I'm currently an AI consultant engineer at Google. As AI is this beautiful topic that we're all talking about, and we rebranded a couple of years ago from ML to AI. I still am very much a statistician, and I do believe that as of right now, even though we have this incredible tech that is honestly, I mean, the landscape is changing so much every day. We still need traditional statistics, and I think that there are some aspects of stats that are getting more and more, let's say, popular, and we are definitely seeing a need for them. Fields like causal inference. That might be on the rise over there. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but there's still definitely parts of AI ecosystem where we cannot use large language models, and we have to we still need to lean towards more traditional machine learning. And I think that especially depending where you are and where what you're doing, you may or may not be exposed to this. I'll mention this a little bit. I would love to connect if you're one of those people that still also believes this. Personally, I spend a lot of times in the woods. I have a dog. I do a lot of hiking, trekking, running. Currently training for Chicago Marathon in October, and I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm a Brewers fan, and I go up to Milwaukee very frequently family, to watch the brewers. And then I do live with endometriosis. This is a Women in AI webinar, and I think that as women, we do work a little bit differently than than the rest of the workforce, as we are living on a hormonal cycle that is monthly. And I think that over the years, there were all kinds of streams of women trying to maybe avoid this topic, or we want to overlook it sometimes, and we want to say no, everything is the same, everybody is the same, we're all the same. But I actually absolutely do not believe that we're all the same. We're not. We all come from different backgrounds. We come with different stories, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and it is actually very important to acknowledge that, and because it depends how we work, is going to depend on all of these circumstances. Currently, our traditional 9 to 5 is made for people who do not work on a monthly cycle, but as people who menstruate in general, we work on a monthly cycle, and it is important to acknowledge. If you have more questions about endometriosis, I am very vocal about this. I do know that it's a very personal topic, and if you are a person living with endometriosis and you decided not to speak up, that was a very painful topic for me personally. It took me a really long time to speak up about this, but I do encourage you, and I hope that you find support if that's the case. Okay, great. My LinkedIn poll, or Jimmy, if you can paste it. I do have I will connect it at the end, but so that you're not waiting until the end, or maybe you should be waiting until the end of my presentation to see my LinkedIn. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so one thing that I'm launching, I'm gonna put it right here, just in case you have to jump before I'm done. I've been getting requests for a mentorship and all kinds of involvements over the years. As I said, I was an educator for a while, unfortunately, because of my health. My health declined last year, so I had to stop a lot of my educational ventures, but I decided to do something on my own coming up in the next 2 months. I'm going to be launching a couple of different things. So if you want to stay up to date, please do so. This is not going to be like your typical newsletter or anything. I'm just trying to build a little database of people who might be interested in this. And then once I start launching, I'll definitely keep you posted and let you know. Cool. So let's get started. Let's talk about the enterprise AI landscape and then beyond consumer scale. And I hope that some of you who maybe love Cuphead are going to be associating with my little Cuphead animated Cuphead character here. Cool. So let's talk about enterprise AI versus consumer AI. And in this today, I think we heard a good amount of consumer AI and what it is. This is a big and a very important distinction. Personally, I work in an enterprise AI world, and technology obviously matters. Without the technology, we wouldn't be able to talk about this. So designing products, creating products, building products is incredibly important. Figuring out how to build teams that are going to build those products, absolutely incredibly important. But beyond that, the how we can actually get to build those products, it comes down to money. It comes down to who's going to pay for this. Is this something that we need? Kind of like your typical product development questions that we're answering. So I work in enterprise AI, which means I work mainly very oversimplified with business clients. For those of you who might have never thought about this, just a little bit of an intro. You can think about a consumer AI as individual users. You can think of it as, for example, YouTube, someone who's watching a video on YouTube, or you're scrolling your Instagram. You are a individual consumer. So when it comes to scale is individuals. It can be millions, very often in billions. The data is massive. It is user generated, and it consists on it's relatively homogeneous streams of things like clicks, likes, views, search queries. Then the objective is mostly going to be engagement. Can you get one more watch on this video? Can I get click on one more click on a link, see a more relevant ad? And then the stakes are relatively low. If a YouTube recommends you a video that you don't like, there's not really a harm there. It's kind of like a low cost of failure. So A/B testing is everything. And I'm sure that you're all familiar with stories, and maybe some of you are A/B testers yourself, where there's a new feature feature being released in some of this consumer products, and it's being tested by kind of like millions of users. You can essentially consistently experiment on a slice of your user base and then optimize this experience. I do want to say one thing, that A/B testing is absolutely valuable in enterprise AI as well. It works a little bit different, and it is you put a lot more value into designing an experiment and how that's actually going to work. But there are lots of questions in enterprise AI that we actually cannot answer without A/B testing. You can, for example, train a model to predict certain thing, but let's say you're training a model that traditional, and we're talking about traditional AI here. And by the way, again, traditional AI, believe it or not, is still extremely valuable in enterprise use cases. And there are many companies out there that are strictly relying on traditional machine learning. And so let's say that you're training your model. Think about tabular data, XGBoost, or something similar, right? Like that. And you can compare your accuracy, quote unquote, as like, let's think of any machine learning metrics as like accuracy. You can compare your accuracy to your historic data for the most part. And this can also be challenging, by the way, depending on the problem that you're solving. But you cannot predict whether or not in the future that's actually going to happen, especially if it's like something that it involves multi-step problems that need to be resolved, that involves probability, whether or not something that you're predicting is going to happen. So whenever you're having that probabilistic landscape, A/B testing is still going to be the king, and it is going to be very important and valuable. So let me tell you a little bit about enterprise AI. So here, the scale is entire business clients and complex internal processes. The data is completely opposite of consumer data. Oftentimes it's in kind of like silos, legacy systems. It's heterogeneous. So you have things like sensor readings, financial records, HR records, service logs. It can be often sparse, depending on how mature the data ecosystem is. It can also be very difficult to gather. It can be inaccurate. It can be, the labels might be very sparse. It can also be very highly sensitive. It can contain, PII or PHI data, or just be corporate intellectual property. So with all of that, the objective is not just boosting engagement, but it's also about kind of having direct, measurable impact on your core business processes. So we're talking about things like increasing efficiency to lowering costs, boosting revenue, mitigating financial and operational risks, ensuring regulatory compliance. So very kind of corporate businessy stuff. But this matters because most of the companies are going to be operating this way. The consumer companies, obviously, we have massive consumer companies like from OpenAI to Meta to all of these companies are Google, to the consumer-based companies, where a lot of revenue comes from direct consumers. However, the enterprise does matter, especially when we're talking about small to mid-size businesses. And so stakes when it comes to enterprise AI can be incredibly high. Failed predictive maintenance model can be catastrophic equipment failure. Sometimes having explainability is super important, especially if we're talking about regulated industries, federal government contractors can be audited by federal government or by any government wherever you are in the world. I know that regulations are different depending where we are, but that explainability might matter a lot. So sometimes you might have to understand, quote unquote, why something happened. So seeing both, we're going to be focusing a lot on enterprise AI and how do we actually get from business problems to AI solution, and then how do we quantify the value for that? So let me tell you a little bit about ideation framework and how we approach this. This is harder than it sounds. A lot of times, again, depending on the maturity of the AI maturity of a company, this may or may not be something that companies have figured out. But still, this is still pretty, I'd say, new. All of these things depend on how technical the leadership is, if the leadership is more focused on solving a business problem more focusing on marketing? Is it, what is the budget that we're working with? I mean, there are just so many aspects of this that needs to be incorporated when figuring out how you want to apply AI. But the most important thing that we often forget is starting with business imperative and not with technology. I think that in the past 2 years, we did see quite a lot of, especially in the beginning of the Gen AI boom, we saw a lot of companies who are like, I just need to have Gen AI, right? Like you just need to give me any LLM solution regardless of that. I don't care what it is. Just make it happen so that I can say that I'm, Gen AI based or like, or whatever it is. And so when that happened, we kind of like lost that focus on solving business problems. And if you're a massive enterprise, that might not matter in a short term, but in a long term, for sure it does, and not everybody can afford to approach problems like that. So how do you want to do it? There is a framework that, again, it sounds simple, but it could be hard to use. That you want to deconstruct value chain. You want to identify high impact pain points, assess AI applicability, and then prioritize. And how do you deconstruct value? To do that, you really want to follow this framework of kind of like selecting the scope, identifying these high level activities, drilling down into core processes. So what are these things that you're going to be accomplishing, breaking it into tasks, performing the discovery, and then mapping the flow. This is kind of like a project, mapping out a project, how you would deliver an AI enterprise project. But even before that, you do need to define an actual use case. And to define an actual use case, you need to decide whether or not something is worth your investment, worth your time. Do you have staffing to build this or not? And if you don't, who is going to build it? And are you going to pay to build your project? So how does this work in a real world, in a practical sense? So you want to select the scope. Are you analyzing the entire enterprise, or focusing on something specific? And then, like I said, identifying these high level activities. So are we focusing on marketing and sales? Are we focusing on operations? And how does this data look like? Where does it live? Where does it exist? Can I access it? Can I access it fast? What are some of the operationalization requirements that I might have? Then you want to drill down into core processes. So what are the main business processes involved? Because at the end of the day, whatever you're building, if even people who are working in certain business cannot use it or don't think that it's relevant, what are you sure that you're building the right thing? Do you want to kind of like list a specific task, build a scope, figure out the level of effort, and then actually start building this? When we're assessing AI applicability, what are we actually trying to solve? So yeah, everything sounds cool. You can be building some really awesome, cool stuff, and you can be doing it just to do it. I actually really personally would love to get into security and networking in the next little bit. I know very little about this, and so I always, whenever I'm working on a project or a problem that involves a networking engineer, I'm just so lost. And I just read a post that someone posted on LinkedIn. Like, how would I, if I was doing it again, how would I get into security engineering? So like I would get Raspberry Pi, I would learn how a YAML file works, whatever. And so they listed out these bunch of things. I thought it was really cool. So when to go back to the AI and why I'm saying this, it is very important to kind of like learn why we're doing something and not just do it for the sake of technology, even though, we might want to do a at-home project just for fun. So why are we doing this something on an enterprise AI scale? And think about it, sometimes on an enterprise scale, if you're building something that is that you're building for millions or billions of users, or something that is really requiring a lot of precision, or something where you're crunching billions, like terabytes of data, you might need a lot of investment to do that. So how do you decide that that's worth your investment? A couple of things that you are considering doing when we're talking about AI. What are problems that we're solving? We can group them into a couple of different categories. One is automation. So any repetitive cognitive tasks, but also tasks that might require more precision than a human can do in a scalable way. Then prediction, forecast demand, predicting failures, identifying fraud, churn, predicting churn. Personalization, that is definitely where LLMs are shining. Tailoring offers, content, user experiences. Personalization is absolutely spot on with large language models. Generation is obviously the fourth use case, the fourth groups of use cases that's been very popular lately. So how are we deciding to do this? We want to do assess on impact versus feasibility, and you really ideally want to be in this kind of like top corner where something is highly feasible, so you can do it, but it's going to have high impact on your organization. Okay, so let's take an example. Let's talk about reducing operational expenditures and improving asset utilization. So you want to automate this task. You want to reduce your full-time employees' cost or reallocating labor to higher value tasks. You want to minimize costs associated with rework, waste, compliance failures, safety incidents, and you want to do resource optimization. So you want to lower inventory holding costs, reduce energy consumption, optimizing logistics. So how would you do this? If from a very accounting perspective, you can actually calculate your annual savings by saying, okay, well, here is going to be the time saved per task. Here's the hourly full-time employee cost. Here's the number of tasks that they have per year. I'm going to estimate this. And then any other direct savings. And I'm going to calculate what are some annual savings if I decide to automate this process. Now, this is an important question. When we talk about investing into some solution, the really a big question is, well, what is going to be my margin? So this is another question where people are like, just please, it's kind of like, people are saying it's been so long with Web3 that there's that meme that is kind of like, well, it's been so long that I'm too scared to ask what blockchain is. It's kind of like a similar thing. I have a feeling with margin where people are like, oh shit, like I should know this, but it's been, it's such a word, it's a word that you hear it all the time. So I just am too afraid to ask. So let me tell you what is margin. So profit margin is going to be the difference between total value that you created. Usually it's measured by revenue. And revenue is the total money that you get from something. And then collective cost of performing all of these value activities. So margin is essentially all the money that you get from something minus the cost. So let's explain it like I'm four. Because I love doing that. Let's say you have a cookie, you're baking a cookie and it costs you $1 to bake. You want to sell it for $4. That's going to be your revenue. So 4 minus 1, your $3 is the value that you're created, the price, and the value that you're creating, which is price minus cost of creation. So $3 is your margin. $1 cost to bake, $4 revenue, and the value is price minus cost of creation, which is a $3 margin. So now knowing that, let's say you're building this AI solution. So how much money would you pay to build an AI solution? And how do you decide whether or not that's worth your time? What we want to calculate here is how valuable is your time? And how much money would you pay for someone's time? So essentially what you want to know, let's assume that, you have this cookie, you can make right now, if you sell it, you can make a $4 revenue, $3 profit, and so your profit is $3 now. But instead of selling this cookie, you actually can put this profit into a magic cookie jar for an additional 10% every year. So essentially what you want to say is, if I was to wait and not sell this cookie right now for $3, if I put this in a magic cookie jar that is going to make this cookie last forever and still be worth it in a year, what will your $3 be worth 1 year from now? And it's kind of like a basic middle school math where you have your $3, you add 10%, and then another 10% after 2 years. And after 2 years, you're actually going to have $3.63. So if you wait 2 years and with $10 extra each year. 2 years from now, you're going to have $3.63. And you're like, okay, Melissa, why does this all matter? We also have 5 more minutes. So why does this matter? These things have a name, and these are called present value, rate of return, time, and future value. And this does matter significantly if you're trying to convince a corporation why they should give you money to build an AI solution for them. So the future value in our example is going to be $3, magic cookie jar, $10, and we want to calculate present value. Remember how much money you want to pay me now to build your AI solution in the future. And to do that, we call this discount back to, we're calling this discounting back to the today's value, and present value is this, which is $2.73 is present value of the profit. And you're like, oh my God, what is she talking about? Why does this matter? I'm going to actually, what I wanted to show you here is the margin. I'm going to let you yourself think about this a little bit. How do you actually calculate a margin that you want to charge someone to build their AI solution for them? I'm going to leave this up to you to figure out what that is, but I'm going to go back to AI, and I'm going to say, okay, so my solution, my AI solution, we're going to totally work on hypothetical scenario right now. Now that you know what a margin is, what a present value is, what a future value is, what a magical cookie jar is of 10% of return every year. Now you want to imagine that your AI solution that you're building can save you $1 million a year. Okay, so I'm going to charge you some money to save you $1 million a year. So does this make sense for you to pay? That's a big question. Now, remember that change when we're implementing something, that does not happen right away. So if you implement some solution, it's going to take a moment for you to figure out if that is bringing value back to you. So how can my solution save you $1 million every year? Before I know that I've been speeding through this. So before I continue, can I hear, are you still with me? Okay. I think someone is suggesting custom GPT for this math. I love it. Okay, amazing. Wonderful. Okay, so let's assume that whatever I'm building is saving you $1 million a year. No sleeping. Stay with me for a little bit longer, okay? And we want to do this over 5 years period, right? So you have this sum, the sum T is from 1 to 5 years. And what are we doing? Based on everything of our previous calculation? If I'm saving you $1 million a year with 10% of return over 5 years, it means that what's going to happen is that at the end of everything, your cost, everything should cost you $3.7 million. If I'm saving you $1 million, then your net present value is going to be $2.7 million. And why does this matter? So let me kind of like tell you this in a very simplified terms. So our cookie story, great understanding for the basic principle, but in real AI solutions, we have this kind of like a little bit, the numbers are a little bit higher than this. So let's look at this $1 million. That's going to be your projected annual value. So your new AI solution, it's going to, let's say, dramatically reduces customer churn, or it automates some costly manual process, and it is going to essentially generate 1 million in new profit or savings every single year. So over the next 5 years period, over here at the bottom, you're essentially seeing that discount rate from the cookie story. So 10% is going to be our company's required rate of return. When we put all of this together over this period of time, we can calculate what is the net present value. And the net present value is essentially, when you do all of the math, discounting each of the $5 million payments and adding them all up, you're going to get this final $3.7 million. And then the kind of getting back, if you are, let's say the total cost of the build of the system is $1 million. If you compare the two, your net present value should be positive, which it is. It's 2.7 because 2.7 is greater than 1 million. And that means that this makes sense for you to build. Okay, so essentially the 2.7 is greater than 1 million, 97% is greater. I can link you to the slides since I have 2 more minutes. And a little bit talking about time value of money, the opportunity cost of investing in AI, what this net positive value is, what is the margin, and how that helps with the AI investment. And here's broken down over this 5 years. To go back to AI and to wrap it up. So how does AI reduce expenses, task automation, error prediction, risk mitigation? And how does AI drive growth? Now, that is a whole different story. So now that you calculated, it makes sense for you to invest this. How do you actually drive growth? Maybe you're improving your conversion rate, maybe you're increasing customer lifetime value, or maybe you are, have some net revenue streams that are essentially directly attributing to your revenue, generated revenue by AI services. That's a very hard one, by the way. Overall, this net present value matters a lot. And what are these AI evals versus business impact when we're actually building AI solution in real life? Well, AI evals matter when you're training your models, when you're fine-tuning a model, whatever you're doing. Sometimes if you have a big investment, maybe you're even pre-training your own model. Whatever you're doing, that matters. Operationalization metrics like inference latency, throughput matter. However, business impact at the end of the day and whether or not you want to make an AI investment matters too. Well, thank you. I was able to wrap up in exactly 30 minutes. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to chat with you a little bit more. I'm actually really good about responding to my LinkedIn messages for the most part. Unless I'm traveling, then I will be probably ghosting you for a minute. But overall, I'm pretty good about this. So please connect with me. It'll be great if you can just put like a note that you're connecting me through the webinar so that I'm not guessing who you are. But yeah, overall, thank you.